Thursday and up until this point, it's been a pretty good ride. It's been a pretty good ride, and well, even before I talk about the Saints, the one team, one of the other professional teams that's kind of getting lost in the shuffle a little bit are the Pelicans. The Pelicans, I guess it's 3 or 4 straight in a row now. They were able to beat San Antonio last night pretty convincingly, and I think that's impressive. But right now with LSU football, Tulane football, high school playoffs going on, NFL football heating up, you got basketball season that has started, and it's kind of getting lost in the shuffle. But hopefully those guys will continue to pull ahead. I think they're only a game and a half out of first place after being 500, well, starting really, really well, then getting some guys banged up, hurt, Peyton, as well as Anthony Davis and Mirchik, some other guys banged up, hurt, but now they're a game and a half out of 500. So that the Western Conference should be interesting. But just to follow up with the Saints and where they are, I was really a Kansas City Chiefs fans last night. Man, I was looking for a little help from those guys, but it was not to be in the cards. And for the Saints to be 9-1, have the opportunity to go to 10-1, playing your, I won't call them hated rival, just say disliked rival. We'll go with that. Your disliked rival on Thursday night presents a lot of problems. Good problems for us, somewhat bad, and I think the bad really are because of the injuries, having so many guys banged up, playing on a short week. The good, you're at home. You're at home, you're able to not have to travel the day before or the week before the game, and you don't have to travel obviously for Thursday night's game. So for this team to be able to recover, I think it's going to be just critical. Game plan wise, it will be condensed to a point, but it's a familiar opponent. Week 3 seems so long ago when you played the Falcons, and if you go back and you remember or even think about that game, it took overtime to beat them. And at that point in time, defensively, we were giving up on a lot of explosive plays. Now, a couple teams have still hit us from some explosive plays of plus 20 or plus 30 yards, but it has not been the last couple of weeks while on this winning streak that they have been on, it has not been the 7, the 8, 9, plus 30 or plus 40 plays. So from a defensive standpoint, that's one of the things that on Thursday night we can try to see if that is happening or if that is occurring. And if it is, you know, you're looking at another shootout. Hopefully the back end secondary has solidified where, you know, maybe it's only 1 or 2 plus 20, plus 30 plays, and they're not for touchdowns. You want to make this team have to drive the field. They have some talented receivers. Starts with Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. He had 3 touchdowns against us last game. You have to be able to slow him down, and Mohamed Sanu is a really, really good receiver as well. They've been banged up. They're starting to get healthy. Offensive line, I think that's where we have to be able to get after their quarterback. Matt Ryan's a really good quarterback. He likes to operate from a fast pace, or at least at the line of scrimmage. He calls a lot of his plays. Colvin is a really, really good back. I like Ito Smith, a rookie out of Southern Miss. He can hurt you as well. So from a defensive standpoint, you have to know where those 2 guys are. Cam Jordan they have to be able to double him. And that is only going to hopefully open it up for the guys inside and opposite of Cam Jordan. There's probably an outside chance for Marcus Davenport, our first rounder, to play. He is getting close to being available. If it was a Sunday game, I'd feel really good about him playing. But right now, I think it's going to be a conditioning deal, and then how much pain he has today leading up to tomorrow, because today will be an actual, or at least somewhat more so of a practice and not so much yesterday. So for him, he would be able to add some depth and be somewhat fresh legs from the guys playing defensively. They have not played a lot of snaps the last 2 weeks. So from a defensive standpoint, they should be fresh. And, you know, it starts with pressuring the quarterback. If they can move him and get a few turnovers from him, Matt Ryan, then they have a shot. Offensively, the way I see it, it's just something to enjoy. Because I think it'll be a while before we see something what Breeze and company before we see something of that nature again. You almost are disappointed when they don't score 35 points and that's at the half. I'm not talking about in the game, I'm talking about at the half, because how efficient that they have been and how they're able to run the football on teams, be able to pass the football on teams. I think we've gotten spoiled, and I think we're just going to enjoy it. I don't want to look too far down the line, just enjoy it, because last night, yes, it does happen offensively in the NFL, but you look at some other teams and they're happy to score 17, 18 points, and we want to score 35. You're disappointed if you haven't scored 35 at halftime. It's literally the last 2 or 3 for sure, maybe even 3 games, they're over at halftime. Now it's let's see what the young guys can do. Now, obviously, the Rams were able to get back into that game and made it a little closer than you wanted. But outside of that, it's going to take some luck. Baltimore, that was one game. Probably should have went to overtime. The kicker misses the extra point. But outside of that, this team is playing really, really well offensively, running the football. My biggest concern that I have, like I said, is the health. It starts up front. That offensive line, they've been beat up. Teron is dealing with a pec injury. I don't think he's going to be out the 3 to 4 weeks. Sean, you guys know, is not really going to give us a lot of information on injuries, but just from what I know, I think it's probably going to be, there's an outside chance on this week, but I'm thinking that they're trying to get him ready for next Thursday. And at worst, you'll get him back for Tampa Bay. But he is a critical piece. Bushrod has played outstanding the last 2 weeks. That's really why they signed him. I know he's dealing with a lot personally, but for him to be able to get around the guys and go out and honor his daughter that he did lose, I think it's always good. Max Unger is probably a Pro Bowl center, doesn't probably get the name recognition throughout the league, but he's playing really, really well. Andres Pete, he's fighting. When he's healthy and he's ready to roll, he's probably one of the top left guards in the NFL. He just has to want to do it. And he's dealing with some injury. Larry Warford should be okay this week. He's critical for that offense. They don't really have a right guard backup. This may be an opportunity for Will Clapp, just depending. Will has been on that team, but he has not been active. And this may be a game where they do activate it just because they don't have a true backup right guard. And Ryan Ramczyk, in his second year at right tackle, he's been phenomenal. He's been phenomenal, in so much where you don't even talk about it because he does his job so well. So I think it starts there. And Drew has been able to, at 39 years of age, just play out of his mind. It's just been really, really impressive to watch him go. And from me looking at it, if defenses cannot disguise what they're doing, and that means move and change to another defense or a look, particularly in the secondary, they don't have a chance. That's how well he is playing, because right now he is seeing it and he knows exactly where he wants to go to the football. One play, for instance, the 4th and 7 call where he throws it to Alvin on a go route. They were not trying to score on that particular play. That was really defense dictated where Drew went with the football. And when I say that, one, they're doubling Michael Thomas, so they kind of took him away. 2, they were trying to truly double Alvin Kamara, but Malcolm decides to step up and press coverage. His help is coming from the inside. The help never has an opportunity to get there because Drew throws a fade route or a go route. And so coverage dictated where they went with the football, but it was just amazing for him to be able to see it and not force it to anywhere else. And the ball was perfect. So this team has a shot. I tell them one of the things is, yes, you're 9-1, but you haven't even qualified for the playoffs yet. So that's the first thing that you have to accomplish. Obviously, winning the NFC South, you're 3 games up. That's what you want to accomplish first and foremost. That will qualify for you in playoffs. But this team has their eyes and goals set on hosting, and right now they do control their own destiny. As far as if they continue to win out, they will host, be the #1 seed. But the Rams only have, I think, in my opinion, only 2 tough games left. They do play Philadelphia, and then on December the 9th, they play the Bears at Chicago. So maybe that's a loss for them. But the Saints have to control what they can control, and that's for them to continue to win. And it starts with a huge game on Thursday night. I don't know if anybody has a question or two for myself, but be more than happy to try to answer it for you.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't matter. This is lighthearted. There's another game Thursday night, okay?
That one up in Oxford?
That one up in Oxford. Would you care to make a prediction?
Run the clock. My Rebels are hurting right now. My Rebels are hurting. I think it's just, normally in college you get to have 85 scholarships. Right now Ole Miss is probably playing with 70 scholarship players. It's 15 bodies. And so your starters are having to play so much special teams, games, offense, defense, that second half comes, third quarter, fourth quarter, you're not able to execute. And then for them to have as much talent on offense as they have, they've struggled in the red zone. If you're already talent deficient, you can't get to the red zone and have to kick field goals, and that's what they've had to do, particularly playing really good SEC teams. When you play the Alabamas, the LSU, the Auburns, you got to score touchdowns. And so you can't afford to score field goals. And I figure that that's what's going to happen again this weekend. Defensively, you don't have the athletes. So probably a couple years away. Wouldn't be surprised to see some change up there. I think Matt is okay, but I wouldn't be surprised for them to change coordinators, offense and defensive coordinator.
Hey, Deuce, when you got drafted, the Saints had Ricky Williams, and
Correct.
We all know how that turned out. And then when you were the featured back, the Saints drafted Reggie Bush.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard an interview where Reggie gives you a lot of credit for making him the player he is, being a good mentor and teaching him how to be a pro. Did you have any conversations with Mark Ingram when they drafted Kamara to kind of do the same thing that you did with Reggie Bush? Because I see y'all, that tandem and yours and Reggie Bush tandem to be very similar. And then also now, the second question is, now that you're in the booth, you could be a mentor to Zach Strief. So talk about how that relationship's happened and how's he been this year, in your opinion?
I will. I don't know if you had the opportunity to see the piece that we did together for the Saints this past weekend. And I told him, and I was joking, but Zach was like, man, I can't believe that you said that. I told him it's like a marriage, and it starts off really, really great. And, we're at the point where I'm about to put him on the couch, but it's really fun. I mean, because a lot of it is for us to almost like locker room. And so to be able to describe it and see it, I thought Jim helped me out and taught me a tremendous amount. He was a pro, and I hated to lose him, but when I understood as well, him being a grandfather, wanting to spend some more time with his family, I think it would have been selfish for me as I'm trying to grow in this role and really just transfer from what I see and what I've learned to the fan, to where it's football, but they learn something as well. And it only helps when this team is playing well. So from that standpoint, we're a work in progress. Hopefully everyone enjoys it, but it's telling the game and talking the game and really hopefully teaching the game as well. And then that first question about me being drafted with Ricky, me and Ricky had a tough relationship. And it was a relationship which Rick was really going through some personal stuff, and football was kind of secondary for him. And I'll never forget, and some of you know this, but I asked Rick about a power play. It's basically gap scheme, blocking. What is he reading? And on this play, what are you reading? And on a zone play, inside zone, what are you reading? This is my rookie year, and I'm trying to figure out some things in the NFL. And I asked him, and Rick's exact comment: on this play you run fast, on this play you run slow. And I'm just looking at it and I'm like, what is that? That doesn't help me. He didn't even tell me on which play you run fast. And on this play you run slow, but over time I figured it out for myself. But it was just a tough relationship. And so for me, when the Saints drafted Reggie Bush, a couple things. One, I wanted to prove that I still had it because I was coming off an ACL injury. Two, I didn't want our relationship to be like mine and Ricky's. So I wanted to be, hey, look, we can compete, but we can also be friends. You know, we can push each other, but we can also be friends. If you got a question, I'm all for winning, you know, because at that point in my career, I'd never been to the playoffs. I wanted to get to the playoffs. I wanted to show or prove that, you know, I was one of the better backs in the NFL. So I wanted to help Reggie out as much as possible. I mean, because if he played well, then that means that, hey, look, I wanted to go out and play well also, because we're competing. You know, we're competing, and if we compete and do well, then that means the team is doing well. And so I think that was the relationship that we had. And, you know, his rookie year, it was different for him, just because, you know, New Orleans is a little bit different from LA and SC, the lights, etc. But I think he grew and he was able to obviously lead and excel and be a better player. So that was one of the things. And then the relationship, Ken talked about earlier, the all-time leading rusher. It's only for a couple more games. You know, Mark should, knock on wood, be able to break that record. And, you know, records are made to be broken. Somebody else had it. George had it, I think, before I got it. So, you know, he's worked hard. His offensive line has worked hard for him. I think it's a great honor for him and a great, you know, goal for him to be able to achieve, and go get it. Those were my exact words to him. And I try to help all of them out, he and Alvin, and that's that same dynamic. Hey, look, we're competing. You know, we want touches. You have to go out and prove to Sean that you're worthy of touches, you know, and don't forget about running the football at times, even though he's done better lately about committing to run it. But those guys do go out, they work really, really hard, and they feed off of each other. And I think it's a good combination for both of them.
McAllister Deli right off campus at Oxford. Is that just a coincidence, or did you have something to do with that?
I was a couple years behind, man. I wish I did, though. But once I did get to the NFL, I knew the owners. It's owned by a brokerage company now. But at one point throughout my NFL career, I did have a few of the corporate stores. So I was a little bit behind. One of the original owners, though, was Coach Tommy Tuberville. How about that? Coach Tommy Tuberville was one of the original owners of McAllister's Deli. But it did start in Oxford. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it was mentioned this morning on the Sports Center or whatever. The game last night was like Big 12 football.
Correct.
And maybe is that the future of the NFL? You know what I mean?
I don't think so. I think from officiating, I don't think it was the best call officiating game. And look, I'm all for points. I love to score. Defensively, I think there was 3 touchdowns as well. Really good quarterback play, but terrible quarterback play as well. Because at times, well, not at times, you have to know who you're playing against. And I thought both quarterbacks forgot who they were playing against from a defensive line standpoint. If you're playing against players that can win one-on-one situations, you can't hold the ball 4 seconds. And I thought those quarterbacks got so infatuated with hitting the big play down the field that they put their offensive linemen in bad situations where I'm holding it, it's a strip. You know, it's a strip fumble return, or at the end, you know, Mahomes, the last pick, he was just trying to make a play. But it starts, and Coach will tell you, if you can't protect the football, it's tough to win. You know, and you can be as talented as you want to be, but if you can't protect the football, it's very, very tough to win. And so knowing the opponent helps as well. You know, it's okay to take a 4-yard or 5-yard check down instead of the 40 or 60-yard bomb play to try to hit it, because, you know, those guys in the NFL, they get paid to win as well, and they're talented players. Any other questions? Thank you so much for allowing me to be able to come out and just speak.